All right, hey, what's up, y'all? I'm excited to be on here. It feels like it's been a while since I've been on camera or been up in front of people, and that's really weird for me. We did have the observation point hike and then retreat or camping experience, and that was really good because we did get to have some good community there and had some good talks and some guided meditations and stuff. But I miss being on camera and I miss being up in front of people and just sharing this freaking amazing experience that we're all having here together, trying to figure all this stuff out. The purpose of this video today is we are coming at the end of our 4-week experiment with the SHT Mediterranean experiment. And so I just wanted to summarize what it was we were trying to do, talk a little bit about my personal experience and the results that I experienced, and then also share with you some of the feedback that I got from other people, and then maybe just talk about some sensible things that we can incorporate into what we're doing going forward, okay? And let's just keep in mind what it is we're trying to do. You know, the basic protocol I absolutely love. The veterans of us that are seeing a lot of success and that are continuing to see things optimize are really just sticking to the basics. And the basics are 100% fresh real food. And that means minimal to no approved items like the crackers and cookies and pizzas and ice creams and all that kind of stuff. So 100% fresh real food all the time. No carbs in the morning, a little bit of carbs in the evening, and then nurturing natural space in between meals, which for most of us means 1 or 2 meals in a day. And then, you know, experimenting with fasting here and there. And really, that is it. Man, that is the formula for success for a lifetime. And if you can just find a way to meet that and be super diligent with it and get as many days under your belt as you can, just doing that general protocol, that's what's working for those of us that are seeing results. And then, of course, within that realm, once you get that figured out, we also highly recommend this part of being a part of the SHT, always experimenting. You know, we want to experiment with these popular methodologies that can be considered somewhat fad so that we can be educated on how they work, so that we can have some experiential knowledge, and so that we can also continue to see what works best for us. All right, that's the whole point of doing all this stuff. So we have our general framework, our general guidelines, which will serve all of us amazingly over a lifetime. And then within that general framework, if we really want to get things dialed in, and if we really want to understand what we're talking about and be able to talk intelligently to other people, we got to experiment. And that's what all this stuff is for, okay? So let's just summarize what it was that we did over these past 4 weeks, or attempted to do over these past 4 weeks. So number one, we just tried to mimic the Mediterranean diet, which we already talked about. The Mediterranean diet is not really one diet. It's a bunch of different countries, a bunch of different cultures and cuisines. And so if we want to try to mimic something that's common about all that, we were trying to do more fish and more seafood, more coastal foods. We were trying to make another point to embrace charcuterie, which is the fermented and prepared and cured meats. And then also incorporating superfoods to the degree that we can, incorporating more olive oil versus a lot of the saturated fats. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it was just an experiment to see how we felt doing a little bit more of the monounsaturated fats. And then we mixed into that the summer eating guidelines, which was eating a little bit lighter, fresher, cooler, especially when it came to plant matter, trying to make things a little, more raw, or leaning towards the raw side, which means less cooked. All right. So, and then with produce, especially with fruit, being a little bit more seasonal with things. And that was basically the experiment. The first meeting, I really appreciate those of you that stuck through it, because I spent a lot of time on the basics, and I probably shouldn't spend a lot of time on the basics. And then we finally got to the key points of what we were trying to do. Second meeting was really just basically a check-in meeting, because this protocol is really simple. I mean, basically we're eating more seafoods and coastal foods, more monounsaturated fats like olive oil, and then doing lighter and fresher and cleaner with the vegetables and produce and stuff like that. So, and I thought it was a great experiment. So let me just tell you a little bit about my take on it and what I experienced. So first of all, I came into this coming out of a 9-week carnivore experiment. So basically I was eating nothing but meat and organ meats and animal-based foods. I had a little bit of fruit in there and a little bit of honey, which, by the way, honey is an animal-based food. But for the most part, like I had no vegetables and no greens whatsoever for 9 weeks. And that was a really interesting experiment. Like, I felt really good. I think what I really liked about it was the simplicity of it. Like, I had no preparation aside from getting meat cooked every week, and that was it. I didn't have all these different items that I was making every night, greens and vegetables and mixed dishes and stuff. So the simplicity I really loved. I don't know that I felt like significantly better than I do any other time eating 100% fresh real food. So coming out of that into this Mediterranean, I switched up the meats that I was eating. So I went more coastal foods, more seafood, more fish. And then I incorporated plant matter, which I hadn't had in 9 weeks, and I was kind of nervous about that. Initially, I experienced some bloating. My digestive patterns definitely changed a little bit. But after about a week or two, like those things kind of tended to normalize a little bit. And I went back to just feeling amazing again. And I'll be honest, I did like bringing back in plant matter, not because I necessarily felt any different, but because I did like the variety. I like my little salads with my Primal Kitchen dressing. I like eating vegetables cooked in butter, and I think the variety is great, but then of course the variety also means that you have to cook more in different things. So there's a little bit of a convenience thing that comes into that. So physiologically, mentally, emotionally, energy-wise, and all that stuff, I just really haven't noticed a whole lot of difference. I have leaned out a little bit, but I can't tell if that's from doing this specifically or if it's just a continuation of me continuing to just optimize and feel good and things just continuing to shift. I say lost a little bit of weight. I mean, I was hovering, around maybe 205 or something. Now I'm around 198, 197, but I don't know that it's necessarily the Mediterranean piece or if it's just, just continuing to optimize things in general. So that was my experience, not a whole lot of groundbreaking changes or anything. Now, the feedback I got from some other people was they lost a lot of weight. They felt really good on it. Some people did experience some of the same things I did with the digestive issues with the plant matter. In that first meeting, we recommended people move away from the 1 meal a day if you were doing that to 2 meals a day again. And I know that some people did not like that. I am back to eating 1 meal a day, and sometimes I'll have a little bit of a snack in the mid-afternoon or something like that. But that's a very personal, bio-individual situation that you just have to experiment with to see what works for you. I don't think there's a right or wrong as far as all that goes. What else? I think the feedback we got from a lot of people is they love the seafood, they love the fish, they love the especially the shellfish and the crustaceans and things like that. I did too. I really liked incorporating that stuff. It was really good, very different. We know theoretically that it has different nutrients that we're not getting from the beef and pork and all that kind of stuff. So I thought that was great. I think a lot of us still have a hard time incorporating superfoods, and that's perfectly fine. It's understandable. A lot of us just have really tight schedules and a lot of responsibilities, and so that might be a little bit more challenging and a little bit more difficult. But again, I don't think that I heard or noticed any groundbreaking changes or shifts from moving to this Mediterranean way of doing things. I think the big takeaway for all of us is the default always has to be 100% fresh real food. And if you're in that realm of 100% fresh real food, like there's all kinds of experimenting that you can do and you really can't go wrong, okay? So now let's talk about what are some things that we know that we want to incorporate moving forward. All right, the first thing is, I just have to make another plug for this. You have to get to where you're 100% fresh real food all the time. And that is it. That's all you have. Unless you just don't see any problems and you don't feel like there's any room for improvement as far as that goes. But I just feel like most people are going to benefit from not having the chips and the cookies and the crackers and the ice creams and the desserts and all the approved items made with the right things in the house, because it's usually for most of us not serving our goals, okay? So I think that's got to be the priority, is moving towards this 100% fresh real food all the time way of doing things. And for those of us that are doing that, like, it's just, life is on a different level, okay? If you're not able to be there, then maybe focusing on these Mediterranean goals isn't your focus. Maybe your focus is just getting the basics down and getting to be 100% fresh real food, okay? So I just want to make a big plug for that. The second thing is, I think that all of us would benefit from having wild salmon once a week. I think that that's ideal. If you have wild salmon once a month and that was more than you were doing it before, that's great, right? But I would say, as a general guideline, wild salmon once a week, and then also some kind of a seafood once a week, and ideally that's going to be one of the superfoods, which is the shellfish or crustaceans. So we have a superfoods rotational checklist and an animal meats rotational checklist. I would probably put that up on your fridge and just always try to rotate through scallops and shrimp and oysters and mussels and whatever else we have listed on there, and just try to get those in once a week. So really that's 2 days a week that we're doing fish and or coastal foods. And then the other nights a week, 5 nights a week, we're doing just the regular meats, whatever floats your boat as far as that goes, right? So understand, even though some of us may not have noticed any significant beneficial groundbreaking changes from doing this, although some of us may have, I think that we all need to understand and can intuit that eating these different kinds of animal meats, the coastal foods and the fish and the seafoods, is going to have a different nutrient profile from the other meats that we usually eat on a regular basis, okay? Another big takeaway point is making sure that we embrace charcuterie. We love fermented and cured meats, okay? They're traditional, they're awesome, right? I don't think you want to make a habit of having a meal of nothing but pepperoni, but having it as part of what we're doing in a snack, and I love carrying it around and having it in my fridge just in case I have a mid-afternoon, hunger spasm or something like that. I think that's great. I would say that as a superfood recommendation, most of us are getting things like butter and egg yolks in on a regular basis. As a superfood recommendation, I think we all need to try to get a half a quart of bone stock in every day, okay? And again, same as with everything else. If that's like completely out of your realm right now and you're getting a half a quart or a cup of bone stock once a week and that's better than you were doing before, that's more than you were doing before, So, but I think for those of us that have the ability to make it on a regular basis or can afford the store-bought versions, a half a quart per day is a very solid, superfoodish, Mediterranean-ish recommendation. And I can tell you right now, I don't have joint issues and muscle issues like I used to, and I'm convinced that a big part of that is my consistent consumption of bone stock and collagen powder, okay? And then I think that all of us are going to benefit from, when we consume plant matter, let's stick to the summer eating guidelines, okay? So this is according to traditional Chinese medicine and eating with the seasons, and that means eating things a little bit lighter, fresher, cleaner, leaning more towards the raw, so fresh salads and things that are lightly steamed or lightly oven roast or whatever. I think that for whatever produce that we're eating, it's better to be that way in the summer. For those of us looking for body composition changes, that's actually a good thing, because when you don't cook or you gently cook plant matter, it tends to have less caloric value, and so it kind of passes through you more as bulk, and so and it still feels a little bit filling. But I think that that's going to be a great way to vary our produce intake. And then of course eating with the seasons, especially when it comes to fruit. So every day that I go into Whole Foods to get some fruit for my evening dessert, I always ask the guys in there, all right, what tastes really good, what's in season right now? And that has shifted over the past couple months. Initially it was strawberries and maybe, I can't remember, maybe a little bit of melon. And then now it's white nectarines, white peaches. I think strawberries and berries are still in the deal. But anyway, just going in and asking that question and trying to eat with the seasons as far as that goes, okay? I think that's about it. Keeping it super simple going forward. The main priority, 100% fresh real food all the time. Same rules as always, no carbs in the morning, a little bit of carbs at night, nurturing space in between meals, and then trying to incorporate salmon on a weekly basis, shellfish and or crustaceans on a weekly basis, and then eating lighter and fresher and cleaner as far as plant matter goes, and a little bit more seasonal, okay? Coming up, our next thing is going to be a carnivore experiment, and I'm really excited about this, okay? And we're going to have our own way of doing the carnivore experiment. I feel like this is going to be a little bit more engaging than this Mediterranean one. I kind of felt a little bit at loss of finding some content to cover at that second meeting. This is the first time I ever did something like this, but the guidelines were super simple anyway. This carnivore experiment that I did, I've learned a lot. And this does require a progression. It's going to require at least 2 meetings, because you do have to phase yourself into this and do it the right way. So we're really excited about that, okay? And I think that's about all we got today, all right? Love you guys. Thank you so much for always joining us on this stuff and being a part of this stuff. You're what makes this whole thing work, and we really appreciate it, okay? We'll talk to y'all soon.